Live from the Business Radio X studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to yet another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and we are coming to you from the virtual Business Radio X studio. We're not in Renaissance Bank at the moment. The bank branches are closed to anything other than appointments in advance. So if you want to see your friendly Renaissance banker, they're there to help you. You just need to call ahead and make an appointment. So do that. And the drive-throughs are open, by the way. So you can hit the drive-through at any time if you got drive-through banking business you need to do. But the folks at Renaissance have been extraordinarily helpful to me and some of the clients I work with. So I would encourage you to be in touch with them at this time of crisis, and SBA loans that are available, etc. Give them a call or go to renaissancebank.com. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. Now I want to welcome a old friend and all-around great guy, Gregg Burkhalter, and Gregg is better known as the LinkedIn guy, right? You're really known as the LinkedIn guy before even people know your name sometimes, Gregg.
Well, that's an honor, John. It really is. A lot of people provided me support, and it is not taken for granted. Let me tell you that.
I've had people actually, they couldn't remember your name, but say, I know the LinkedIn guy. I know that guy, but I can't remember his name, which actually, that is a big compliment. So congratulations on that achievement in your journey. So the theme of this show is top tips for LinkedIn job search success. And boy, unfortunately, there are a lot of folks out there that started this year not thinking they were going to be looking for a job, and suddenly they are.
You're absolutely correct. In fact, in the last 10 days or so, I've spoken digitally to a couple of job networking groups. And you're right. The number of people on those webinars is probably more than you would normally have if you had an in-person meeting, because there's a lot of people in transition right now. And everybody has a unique situation they're dealing with. So what you're dealing with right now yourself could be totally different than someone else. But one of the things about the job work situation career-wise in our current state beyond the crisis we're dealing with is we're already in a state of flux. I mean, just the normal environment of business, job transition is part of that. But this crisis has really pushed forward that timetable to where people are unexpectedly having to see themselves looking for a job. So that's why one of my topics of discussion when I speak to these groups is you got to always be ready and prepared when this thing arises, and not be reactionary, but be proactive to make sure you're prepared to pivot or whatever you need to do during this time, because it takes a little while to catch up and get things tuned up. And that's even more of a challenge if you're emotionally wounded, because you want to do this building of your LinkedIn profile and all this other stuff while you're feeling good and proud about your brand. When you're wounded, it's even harder to do. So yeah, a lot of challenges out there, but I got to tell you, John, there's light at the end of the tunnel. We're going to get through it, and we're going to get through it together. So we got to stay connected.
Well, no question about that. And you're awesome at that in terms of the way you interact on LinkedIn, and are a real example for a lot of us in that regard. For those that where the tide's gone out and they weren't anticipating that, and they've got some work to do on LinkedIn, what are some of the top things that they need to be doing right now?
Well, I'm going to say when you first find out you've lost your job, I'm going to say take a breath. Just kind of take time to absorb that. And also, I'm going to tell you too, you can't be successful in your job search as an island. You got to get out into the ocean of the business community. So the first thing I would do as you're working on your LinkedIn profile to get it set up is I would make sure I set up some networking meetings, like group meetings with others that are in job transition, because you're going to need that emotional support. Even though people may work at different companies and different industries, you're going to need that common bond to keep you encouraged and motivated. But as far as your LinkedIn profile, if you haven't addressed your profile in a long time, you're probably way behind the 8 ball. There have been so many changes to LinkedIn in the last 3 years that, well, you're not even aware of most of them. So what I'm going to suggest is that you start looking at other people's LinkedIn profiles who are more active on LinkedIn than you, and make sure you're aware of exactly what kind of content and what kind of sections are available on LinkedIn. Based on what you see, you may have to go to your LinkedIn profile and click on that blue button at the top of your profile that says Add Profile section, and add all these new profiles sections to your profile, because they're not automatically there. Also, make sure your headshot is current. Make sure your name is consistent across your resume and your LinkedIn profile. Make sure your headline, the words below your name, are more than just a job title, because, again, LinkedIn is the home of your personal professional brand. That's the most powerful tool you probably have in your professional toolbox right now. In fact, in your toolbox, there's really 4 things you're dealing with as you're looking for a job. One of the items in your toolbox is your experience. The other is your education. And the 2 new things in there, I kind of call these power tools. One I alluded to earlier, it's your personal brand. And the other power tool in your professional toolbox is an engaged professional network. You're going to need those last 2 power tools from now until you quit working. So you got to make sure you work on those. Work on your LinkedIn profile, get it fine-tuned. I'm going to suggest before you start working on your LinkedIn profile to avoid your network getting notified that you're changing jobs and crazy things are going on. Make sure you go into your privacy and settings area and the side of your LinkedIn profile there, and make sure you turn off the point that says share job changes. Turn that to no. Let's leave that turned off as you work on your profile. And then once you land your next job, we're going to turn that back on again. So basically, start working on your profile. Look at other people's profiles who are more connected and active than you, and try to get that thing fine-tuned so that we can move forward in job search.
Greg, I skipped a step, and I think it might be important for people that if they have not been on LinkedIn to understand the value of LinkedIn. I think a lot of people do, but there are probably still some folks out there that don't and think it's just a place to store their resume or something. Why do I need to worry about LinkedIn if I've got all these job boards and I've got, job networking connections and groups that you mentioned, like that you speak to? I mean, why, and then I've heard folks say, well, there's all these keyword algorithms, right? So all I got to do is make sure my resume fits those algorithms when I submit them into various companies. What do you say to somebody like that really is not fully engaged on LinkedIn?
Well, LinkedIn is a social media channel, but it has so much more power than any other social media channel you're on, especially in the professional environment, because LinkedIn is the home of your personal brand. And it's going to be that home and from now until eternity. Some of the reasons you need to be on LinkedIn is this. 90% of every job that is filled is via networking. Guess the greatest digital platform for networking in the business community? LinkedIn. Let's talk about resume versus profile. What's the difference? Your resume, even though I'm not an expert in that area, is generally fine-tuned specifically to the job you're applying for. So you don't send out one resume to every job. Your LinkedIn profile is a little different. You don't revise your profile to every job. It is a bigger picture look of you. And one thing your LinkedIn profile can do that your resume can never do, and that is create emotion. Have people feel something about you by listening to the words you've typed in your profile or viewing the pictures or video you've put there. That's powerful when you build that emotional connection. So you need to make sure that your LinkedIn profile represents who you are. People ask me all the time, well, Greg, is my LinkedIn profile my personal brand? Well, it could be if other people are talking about it as if your personal brand. Had someone tell me the other day, I thought this was kind of funny. They said, if you truly want to see what your LinkedIn profile should be, have somebody else write it, because that's really what your brand is.
Right.
It's what other people say you are.
Mm.
So yeah, LinkedIn has close to 700 million members. and has a huge amount of data on the business community. What a great place to get connected with other professionals and also be able to research companies you want to work for and get a true feel of what that company's about. By the way, a quick tip before I forget to tell you, if you're applying for a job to a company inside of LinkedIn, you better be following that company page of that company on LinkedIn. If you're not, and that recruiter sees your application come through, you get dinged for not following the company page. They sense you're using the shotgun approach and you're applying everywhere. So make sure you follow the company page. Also on LinkedIn, it has a feature that other places don't have. It's called Easy Apply. If you see a job on LinkedIn and you click the button Easy Apply, you don't have to fill out an application. Your LinkedIn profile serves as your application. You're able to attach a cover note or whatever you want to and your resume. By the way, you don't have to keep loading your resume every time to LinkedIn when you apply for a job. There are settings inside of LinkedIn's privacy and settings area and the privacy area where you store your resume, your phone number, your email address, and answers to most commonly asked questions, so you don't have to enter this data every time. Also, LinkedIn has an incredibly powerful search tool. When you search for a job on LinkedIn, you can put the job title and city, but you can click the all filters button and turn on about 50 of the most incredible filters to really specifically fine tune your job search to jobs you really, really want. And once you get that job search done, even better, LinkedIn allows you to create a job search alert based on what you just entered, which what this means is this. Every day, without you doing anything, LinkedIn is going to tell you every new job that's posted that applies to your field of search you're looking for. Just incredible. Also, inside of LinkedIn, in the Jobs tab, they actually have an area, the More button, that you can click on, and it has a whole list of sample interview questions. You know, the ones that people ask you that you stammer on?
Yeah.
They have those questions there with a video answer and advice from a professional about that question. So yeah, LinkedIn not only is the home of your personal brand, it's the strongest tool you can have in generating a consistent profile, or should I say job search. So yeah, LinkedIn is where you need to be. And another reason why you need to be on LinkedIn, and I'll kind of get off this subject briefly, is when someone Googles your name, what do you think shows up inside of LinkedIn? First, it's not your website. 9 times out of 10, it's your LinkedIn profile. And is this profile something you're proud of? You haven't looked at in 5 years? It's what people see. And because nowadays we've reached a new realm where I believe first impressions are digital nowadays. They're not formed in person anymore as a first impression. So when you're trying to schedule that video interview for a job, or you're making a phone call to someone about something and you say, I want to make a good first impression, most times that is not the first impression. They've already formed their first impression by Googling your name. They've gone to your LinkedIn profile, maybe your Facebook profile. They have a perceived notion of the person they're going to meet. What happens now is, does it match when you talk to them? So yeah, a lot of deep utilities inside of LinkedIn, a lot of strategy involved, but it is a tool that the professional cannot do without today.
Awesome stuff, Greg. Folks, if you just joined us, we're speaking with Gregg Burkhalter, the LinkedIn guy and personal branding expert. Greg, you brought up LinkedIn job search. Wondering about the paid version of LinkedIn. Do you recommend being a paid member of LinkedIn? Because there's a free version, there's a paid version, and do you get all those job search features if you're on the free version?
Everything I described to you so far is on the free version, but you know what? The LinkedIn guy is always learning too. And I used to say you didn't have to have the paid version. I have changed my mind. I had an in-depth conversation with a recruiter who opened my eyes to the fact that if you have the paid version of LinkedIn, the entry-level version called Job Seeker, you show up better on a recruiter's page than someone who does not. So the paid version will help you. Also, with the paid version, there's a few additional features. LinkedIn will actually compare you to the job you're applying for and tell you how you rank compared to other people who are applying for the job. So there is more input. Also, on the free version of LinkedIn, If you're searching your network for names like CEO, Greater Atlanta Area Technology, on the free version of LinkedIn, you're going to get locked up after about 30 searches, and LinkedIn's going to say, you're using this for business, you need the paid version. With the paid version called Job Seeker, you get a lot more searches than you do on the free version. And there's some other features involved too. But yeah, my strategy now is if you've been looking for a job for a while and you have the free version, please give the paid version a shot. If buying the paid version out of the box is no financial hindrance to you, get it while you're looking for a job. I believe it helps you.
You mentioned something there I wish you'd unpack just a bit, and that is that you said that if you've got the paid version, you look better to a recruiter. Can you specify how that works? The
recruiter I spoke with told me that when they review the applicants for a job, there's 3 baskets. The basket on the left is people with a free version who have applied for the job. The basket in the middle is people that have the paid version of LinkedIn who applied for the job. And there's a basket on the right that has people who have not applied for the job that might be a good fit. Now, what I'm telling you is based on what the recruiter told me. Once I heard that, I said, you need the paid version. And that she also reminded me too, that you need to follow the company page you're applying for, because recruiters know that when they review your entry or your application, it says, are they following the company page? So again, speaking to a recruiter really opened my eyes on this. But to circle back to something I said earlier, recruiters are important in finding a job, but your network is your most important way to find a job. Okay. If you just sit on LinkedIn and apply for jobs and you don't talk with your network and do stuff like that, you really slow down the job process. In fact, right now, with a lot of people being out of work, this is a good point in time to bring up something I've learned recently that I think would help people going forward. And that is, as you're growing your network, don't just be focused on people in the industry you work in. Because what happens if 10 years into your career, you decide that industry is not where your heart is and you want to make a pivot? You need to set yourself up for a pivot. So I'm not saying connect with everyone in every industry. I'm saying connect with quality, respected people who understand LinkedIn and other industries, because you could use them in the future, maybe 10 years down the road, to make a career pivot. So make sure your network is broad. The only criteria is make sure they're good people with the right approach, who understand how LinkedIn works, who give first. Make that connection.
Folks, if you just joined us, we're speaking with Gregg Burkhalter, the LinkedIn guy. Has been very active here lately in terms of the increased number of job seekers. And Gregg, I want to just get into some of the things that are going on LinkedIn right now. One of the things we talked about before we came on the air was the increased activity, but lower engagement. Expand on that.
Yeah, I saw what I was sensing initially when this whole situation came upon us was that LinkedIn was down, but I actually misread that, because I think what's happening is LinkedIn use is up because people are behind the scenes applying for jobs, working on their profile. But what is down is LinkedIn engagement. People have kind of gotten in this whirlwind of looking for a job and have forgotten to stay engaged with other people publicly on LinkedIn, because when you go dormant on LinkedIn and people don't see your face on their news feed, they forget about you. So you got to make sure that even during this time of looking for a job, you got to stay active on LinkedIn. I'm not saying you have to be a real active poster to stay active. Even commenting and interacting with other people's posts on LinkedIn actually maintains your personal brand, your voice on LinkedIn. And also it shows that you give to the community and you're not all about yourself. So just remember, when you're looking for a job, please stay active on LinkedIn also, because people who know you, like you, and want to help you, unfortunately, don't think about you until they see your face on their newsfeed.
I want to get into how folks engage on LinkedIn effectively in a minute, but there's something there you said that I want to expand on. There's the old saying, crisis reveals character. And that seems to be the case in terms of some of the things that are happening on LinkedIn right now.
You're right, John. There are people on LinkedIn right now that are pretending nothing has happened. And let me tell you, there's an elephant in the room right now. You have to address it. You have to acknowledge that you don't have the answers. I don't have the answers. But you know what? We're going to stick together and we're going to work our way through this. So I'm seeing a broad potpourri of things on LinkedIn, everything from someone who is using this opportunity to give me a sales pitch on how to save my retirement funds, a person, by the way, I've never spoken to, or I get a text message on my phone from someone I have not talked to in 3 years, and they're asking me stuff about business related that I don't even know how they got my phone number or my text. So that's going on. The other thing is you have people that have been kind of under the radar using LinkedIn, and you actually, being there and observing stuff, but suddenly they have got ramped up and become extremely more active on LinkedIn, say maybe offering, free webinars and stuff like that, which I think is a great idea. But when you go from being dormant on LinkedIn to being high profile, signing people up for webinars, even if they are free, that has a unique feel to it too. So there's a fine line. I don't know if you've noticed on my LinkedIn activity, Gregg Burkhalter, the LinkedIn brand, has not been that loud the last few weeks. It's been more of a brand of helping others without my brand being promoted, being part of the community and stuff like that. Only occasionally will you see me doing anything related to my brand, because right now I'm not promoting the Gregg brand. I'm promoting goodwill. I'm promoting building community. I'm promoting helping others, and I'm making myself available far more behind the scenes to have one-on-one conversations with people who are hurting, who need personal advice. That's what I'm trying to do. So yeah, true colors shine right now. And the colors that shine right now, whether it be colors you're showing to people on LinkedIn, the colors you're showing to your clients, these colors will directly impact how your relationship with your people on LinkedIn and your relationship with your clients grow forward. You're laying a foundation of what's going to be dealt with in the future. Positive or negative, you're laying that foundation.
So how do I engage on LinkedIn? I'm a job seeker. How do I engage on LinkedIn to do exactly what you mentioned that goes beyond just posting? And sometimes I think folks don't even know what to post, right? I mean, hey, I'm looking for a job. I don't know what to post.
Yeah. What you got to do is, first of all, I would identify some target companies that you want to work for. And I would start following those company pages. And if you find companies that you're following that you're really intrigued by, I try to identify some people within those companies that you could either follow that individual or connect with them. I would start getting some history and activity from the company. And if you follow someone on LinkedIn, the cool thing about it is this: even though you're not connected with that individual, you have the ability to interact with their post, which is a great way of introducing yourself to someone at a company who's never heard from you that you'd like to work at. By you interacting or commenting on something they posted, that little notification button goes off and they become aware of who you are.
Mm.
And as I talked to earlier, we talked about posting stuff, as a job seeker, get out there and interact with other people who are well branded and well connected. Interact with their stuff they're sharing, because what that does, that helps build a relationship that you might have to call upon at some point to see if there's someone in their network that may be a door opener for you. Now, there's nothing more awkward than having somebody reach out to you on LinkedIn who connected with you 3 years ago, who has never talked to you, and they give you a list of 3 people in your network they want you to introduce them to. Mm. That is so awkward. But that awkwardness goes away if you're supporting people on LinkedIn, building that digital relationship. When that request comes through, it is well received. So just be out there, be present. But if you're in job search mode, you got to know what companies you want to work for, what industries you want to work in. And that's where you're going to focus doing your activity to get your name in that community of people so they become aware of who you are.
And Gregg, when you say interact with other people's posts, I mean, you mean going beyond just hitting the like button. You mean really engaging in an online discussion relative to whatever article or blog post that they shared, right?
That is correct. In fact, LinkedIn's definition of being active on LinkedIn is if you're only liking articles on LinkedIn, you're considered inactive. We're at the point right now where you must comment to be considered an active user. So commenting is not Great article, Bob. That's not commenting. Commenting is reading thoroughly the article you're about to comment on, identifying what in that article hit you that you want to respond or talk about. Maybe you want to share a quote from the article. Maybe you want to add a thought that was not mentioned in the article that would bring more value to the article. What you're not trying to do is upstage the person that wrote the article. You're trying to reinforce what they've said and maybe add your own personal input. This is not grandstanding. This is providing extra value in a humble way. By you doing that, that creates a conversation not only between you and the original poster, but you will probably have other people respond to your comment. So it extends the conversation. And another way you can get into these good conversations, besides following a company or following an individual at a company, is do a hashtag search. Hashtag searches are magical. Go up to your search bar, hashtag medical devices, and all of a sudden you have a brand new news feed that is nothing but articles on medical devices that are posted on LinkedIn. A great place to find new people you've never heard of who are sharing content. And you can find those people several ways. One is by the person who posted, but I love looking at the like or comment button. Those are people 9 times out of 10 you don't know who have the same passion about the industry you do that you might want to connect with. So use a hashtag search to give you an opportunity to tag some comments on some posts or connect with new people. But keep in mind, if you're posting a lot of comments on stuff, your network sees it. So you have to have some buffer there. You can't go crazy posting 10 comments a day because your network's going to see you posting 10 comments. And if they see you doing too much stuff in a certain industry they don't care about, they have the option of unfollowing your post. And when they do that, they will never see anything you post again. And for all purposes, that relationship in the digital realm is done. We don't want that. So be very aware that what you do, like, comment, post, everything you do is trickled down to your network.
You mentioned connections and making connections, the importance of making connections. How do I connect with someone, particularly in a way that is soliciting? Because
right. One way to do that is actually write a note.
Okay.
I mean, that's a nice touch.
Yeah.
I would write it. First of all, I would look at the person's profile and I'd look for a commonality. Do we know a lot of people, the same people? Do we work in the same industry? Are we a member of the same LinkedIn group? Did we go to the same college? I try to find some commonality I can use in my request to connect. Mm-hmm. And I might say something like, hey, Bob, or hey, Mr. Smith. Maybe this guy's a CEO or this lady is a CEO, and I don't want to use their first name. I may use just their last name until I get to know them. Hey, Mr. Smith, this is Greg in Atlanta. I noticed that we know several of the same people. In fact, you and I are both graduates of UGA. I would be honored to add you to my LinkedIn network. And I always offer assistance by saying, please let me know if I can ever help you in any way. And if Mr. Smith decides to connect with me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to write a quick note back and say, thanks for connecting. Have a nice day. A lot of work there, but what that does, that creates a footprint of how my relationship began with that person. Mm. And that footprint is stored in my LinkedIn message center from now until I quit talking to the person. So that's why I write the personal notes. Now, some people are not going to be at a level where they will connect with you. That's where the follow button comes in. So your higher level thought leaders may not have time to connect with you, but you can follow them. And if you follow someone on LinkedIn, you get a lot of the same benefits as a connection. You get to see everything they do on LinkedIn, everything they like, comment, or whatever. So you get to see that. You don't get to see the list of their connections, and you're not usually able to write them a free note inside of LinkedIn. So they're not like a connection where you can talk to them inside of LinkedIn for free, but you can see everything they do. And if you see everything they do, you can learn from what they post. And you can also have the ability to interact and comment on what they're posting. So you need to have a mixture of connections and followers. Connections is what I call your team. The people that believe in you, you believe in them. We have a digital relationship. You have each other's back. You need that. But you also need leaders and thought leaders higher up than your level that you can gain knowledge from, inspiration from, and also support. Because by you supporting someone with an incredibly strong personal brand, your brand gets more exposure by interacting with their stuff than you can create on your own. So using others with strong brands is a gateway for brand exposure for you.
LinkedIn groups. How do you recommend using LinkedIn groups if you're a job seeker?
Okay, LinkedIn groups is an area where I don't spend a lot of time. LinkedIn group has gone through all kinds of incarnation. It started out as a really hot item. It cooled down, and LinkedIn is trying to bring it back. So right now, as far as being hot again, it's not quite there yet. So the benefits of joining a LinkedIn group are this. One is if you join a LinkedIn group, you have the ability to learn from that group. So if people are posting stuff in that group, you can gain access to what they say. Also, at some point after you've been in the group for a while, you may want to share some information. So that allows you to get some brand exposure as someone who is somewhat knowledgeable in your industry. But one of the great strengths is this. If you join a group in your industry and the group has 100,000 members, you have the ability to see everybody's name of those 100,000 members. So it's a great way to research people with common interest and find some new names of people that you can check out on LinkedIn to see, is there a relationship there? Is there a followership there? Is there anything there with this person? So that's what I would say about groups.
Okay. So a little lukewarm on that. You don't have to really dive into that pool necessarily to get the benefits of LinkedIn.
It's just like the regular LinkedIn. People will join a group just to post their latest sales pitch. So that's kind of poisoned groups to a certain extent.
Right.
The actual conversation back and forth is nowhere near what it's like on the LinkedIn news feed. So most people don't spend a lot of time in groups, except maybe salespeople trying to pitch their wares.
And if we haven't made this clear, I think it's important to do so. I mean, LinkedIn is a great place to show what it is, right? I mean, so because you can't do that just by sending in a resume to a company. So maybe if you haven't been posting articles on LinkedIn about knowledge and trends in your industry, now's a good time to do that.
I would say it's a good time to do it only if you're already engaged and have become part of the community on a regular basis. If you're not currently active on LinkedIn and all of a sudden you become a poster posting every day, it feels weird. It kind of feels like someone walking into a networking group of people they don't know and passing out their business card and sales flyer and leaving. It's like, where did this person come from? So it's much better to kind of ease your way in start out by liking and commenting on some people's stuff. Then maybe on occasion share maybe a post or two a week of an article you found online. Just ease your way into it. You can't post yourself to authority. I mean, you can build a network and use posting to build your brand, but you've got to have relationships, respect from the LinkedIn community as someone who's a giver before they're going to really turn on that support engine and take you to the next level.
I love it. Gregg Burkhalter, he's the LinkedIn guy. Always helpful, particularly to folks that are in particular need right now, those job seekers that didn't expect to be looking for a job. So, Gregg, this has been great. Is there anything we missed? I want to make sure we got everything out there. Is there anything we missed that we shouldn't have got that we should have addressed?
There is one item I forgot to mention that I think is very important for somebody in job search mode. I don't know if you've noticed when you look at people's profiles, most times on the right side of their profile, there's a drop-down pane that said people also viewed. And it's got all these random names of people you know, you don't know. If somebody is in job search mode, I'm going to suggest they turn off that pane because I believe your LinkedIn profile is your most valuable piece of online branding real estate. And if you're looking for a job, why do you want somebody else's name on your profile that might distract a recruiter and say, this person's better than you are? So the way you turn that off is you go to your settings and privacy area, you click on the privacy tab, and you scroll down to the section that says viewers of this profile also viewed, and I would turn that button to no. That is one item I really wanted to mention. Thanks for asking. And that's important in job search because, again, it's already competitive enough. But if you're bringing other people's names into the competition on your own profile, you don't want to be doing that.
Gregg, this has been awesome. As usual, you really are the LinkedIn guy, and thank you for keeping up with this and that's another thing we need to mention is LinkedIn is always changing, and has morphed dramatically over the last few years since Microsoft bought this platform. So it really is important to keep up with what's going on.
That's correct. And I've just thought of one more item I'd like to mention.
Please.
That I failed to mention earlier that's important for people in job search mode. There's a new section on your LinkedIn profile that's let recruiters know I'm looking for a job. So I'm going to suggest that you make sure you have that section on your profile, and it's up in the top part below your picture. When you click on it, it asks information like what jobs you're looking for, what cities would you like to work in, what sort of job, full-time, part-time, contract, internship. This information you can provide, and when you hit when you click add to profile, what it does is it gives this information to recruiters only that you're looking for a job. But there's a brand new feature. Not only can you tell recruiters you're looking for a job, if you happen to be in transition now where you're not currently working anywhere, there's a brand new setting. Not only does it say tell recruiters, there's a new button that says let my whole LinkedIn community know I'm looking for a job, and let recruiters know too. I would suggest if you're in transition with no current job, let everybody on LinkedIn know you're looking for a job. And when you do that, in the top part of your LinkedIn profile, there's going to be a block that says, I'm looking for a job. Here's the titles I'm looking for, and here's the cities. So anyone that looks at your profile knows what you're looking for.
So you recommend that instead of specifically mentioning that in like the profile blurb that's right under your name?
The headline is valuable real estate.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a big fan of typing seeking new opportunity or anything like that up in that headline. It's valuable real estate, where I'm going to put keywords and stuff like that. If you put this on your LinkedIn profile, this is right below the headline area. It's only like a half an inch below that. And it says looking for opportunities. You don't have to do it anymore. It's on your profile, and it tells you what you're looking for. And again, it tells recruiters too.
Again, Gregg Burkhalter, the LinkedIn guy. Awesome information, Gregg. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been great. But before I let you go, give folks your contact information if they'd like to be in touch. How can they do that?
Well, you can check me out on my website, which is greggburkhalter.com. You can go there and kind of look at some of my podcasts, kind of check my current event dates. By the way, I can't wait to have an in-person event date added to my calendar. I'm just waiting on that. Okay.
Yeah.
Just with bated breath here. You can go to my website, or you can check out my LinkedIn profile. If you don't know the address, it's linkedin.com/IN/Gregg Burkhalter. Go there, check out my profile. And I'd be honored for you to write me a personal note telling me you heard this blog or this podcast and invite me to connect. It would be an honor to add you to my network. I would like to do whatever I can for you, but I'm going to encourage you, get on LinkedIn. Be active daily. Be focused on helping others. You've heard this phrase before. I'll say it again. We're all in it together, and we're going to get through this. Stay positive and move forward. Thank you, John, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Gregg. Thanks so much for being with us today. This has been great. Thank you so much.
Thank you, John.
Folks, just a reminder, if you've got some headaches that involve some administrative task in your business, maybe you've got a bookkeeping issue, you need help with marketing, well, here's an answer for you. Go engage a smart and reliable office angel. They're not a temp agency or a placement firm. Office Angels matches your business support needs with an experienced angel who's got the talent that can help you maintain or grow your business on an ongoing or as needed basis. And they've been virtual from the very beginning, by the way, so don't worry about that piece of it. They know how to handle virtual relationships. Call SE Escobedo, 770-442-9246, or go to officeangels.us and check them out. They're terrific. I work with them myself, so I know how good they are. Just another reminder that you can listen to this show on all your favorite podcast apps. You can find us there. Would love if you would subscribe and rate us. We love the feedback. We've featured now almost 500 great business leaders in 4 years, like Gregg Burkhalter, on our show. But we're on Apple, Google, Stitcher, TuneIn, Spotify, Overcast, all your favorite apps. You can find us at North Fulton Business Radio, or go to northfultonbusinessradio.com and check out our archive there as well, which is searchable, by the way. So you can search for a lot of different folks, business leaders, terms, companies. It's a great place to do some, if you wanted to actually, I have to mention this, Greg, if you want to do some do some research on a company, go to businessradiox.com, search for that company. You might find that company's CEO or a top official in that company that can give you some great background when you do that interview, maybe. So there's another little tip.
I like that.
Yeah. But folks, follow us on LinkedIn. Of course, we're right there, North Fulton BRX. You would expect us to be on LinkedIn, right? But also we're on Facebook and Twitter as well, North Fulton BRX. So for my guest, Gregg Burkhalter, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.